Hello everybody, welcome back. In today's episode, it's going to be a very short and quick one. And what it is a very quick and simple way to do a character mask. Now, for those that aren't familiar what a character mask is, I should say too, this is done in Photoshop, the purpose for this tutorial. This could be done in Manga Studio. The only reason I'm only showing it in Photoshop is because that's where I'm more comfortable coloring in currently. And I'm not sure how masking works 100% in Manga Studio. However, I do know that it is possible. So, in the future, look to see at the back in this video. Maybe there'll be a link a week from now, 2 years, whenever you stumble on this video. And hopefully there'll be a link there for you to show you how to do Manga Studio. But what this mostly works for is a pinup. And here we have this character here, which you guys have seen, the Sea Maiden, in a previous YouTube video. And so it's getting time to color, and we're not going to go through the coloring. I'm just going to show you how I prepare the coloring stage. Masking, again, I'll just show you really quickly the general workflow that we're going to do here. So let's just say this dark gray is what we're going to pick, and this is the shape. Okay, on its own layer we're going to fill that, Alt backspace, and anytime I click here and make a new layer above it, in between, if you move your mouse in between and hold Alt on your keyboard, you'll get this cool little, it looks like this weird, I don't know, it's two circles merging together. Now, let's just say this character had pink, like a pink head. On this layer, I could just color all my pink right in here. And look, you can see I'm going way outside of this selection, but it'll only ever affect the inside of that. That's the point of masking. I can make a new layer, and as you can see, it's going to go above the color we just made. All I do is I can just drag it underneath and rearrange it inside that if I wanted to bring it above. Or I could click new layer, do the exact same thing, Alt, and go underneath. And what it's doing is it's always, as long as this mask is there, I'm always able to go in here and, you know, change colors of certain areas. Maybe we just want like a green belt. The purpose of this is once you get into doing shading and highlighting, as long as everything is inside this mask, I can get outside and it's very easy to make that quick selection as opposed to worrying about going outside the lines. Because as you can see, if you look at this character, there's a lot of fine lines, okay? Now, whoops, a really long way, and a way that I've been doing a lot of masks, is I'll go in here and I'll do an outline myself with just a brush and then fill inside that. Unfortunately, if you're doing comic books where there's a whole bunch of stuff going on, excuse me, and you're coloring somebody else's work, I'm not quite sure if there's, at this time anyway, I haven't found a way to do it very quickly. If you're doing your own stuff, and this is something that I'm going to be conscious of in the coming weeks and years, is making things on their own layer so that I can mask that character, whether it's a scene of all these characters fighting, like a giant cover, anything. As long as you can think of terms of if it's going to be colored later, perfect. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started here. That was the basic overview of it. I'm just going to show you practically being used here. So this file here, I've just opened up, and this is from Manga Studio, so we'll assume maybe you did inks in real life, you scanned it in as a TIFF. Make sure you go up here, save it in RGB if it's for the web, or CMYK if you're doing it for print. Doesn't really matter necessarily for the purposes of this. Now, I'm not going to show you the next step that I normally go into to separate the line art. I want to keep this very raw as how we would work here. So as you can see, just this, because it's a solid layer, it's just one lock. If you double click that, a new layer, it doesn't matter, you can name it whatever you want. We're going to set that to multiply, and what that does is every layer underneath will show up. Right, so if I start drawing, the lines are over top. Very simple stuff. But we just want the selection of this character. There is another character up here. Don't worry about this one. This is going to be fine just for the purposes of this here. So what I'm going to do initially is use my magic wand to select everything outside of her. And then we're going to invert that selection and fill. That's all. That's all it is. That's the big trick here, okay? Let me just get a darker color. However, depending on your art style, as you can see in mine, there's a lot of lines that are in here that aren't complete. And they look really nice as an ink drawing. That's why, you know, it's something I was going for. However, when you color those things, that's just not going to work. And when we use the magic wand tool, I'll show you what happens. So you click your wand tool, make sure you have sample all layers on, that way we can get the inks and the background. When I click, look what happens. You can see that the outside selection is great, but everything else inside is getting hit. We don't want that. And the reason this is happening is because there's holes in our artwork, or up here where it gets very thin. It's very tough to be able to do that. So this layer that I just made is going to be this character's mask. Okay, so grab a brush. I recommend if you click and hold this, you can go to your pencil tool. It makes it precise. Like, look at this. There's no aliasing. Whereas if you go with the brush, you see you get like this. It's a better looking line, but there's these gray areas. Okay. Find what you like. It's not a necessity, but just for precision, I like to use the pencil tool. And what I'm going to do here is very quickly, instead of outlining the entire character, I'm just going to look very quick, like I said, for holes that might be in this character. And I'm drawing inside of her because she is going to be the mask, not outside of her. Okay? And depending on your art style, this might not be a problem for you. You might have a very clean, thick outline on everything, and if that's the case, you're probably just going to jump ahead into the next stage that we're going to go into. However, if your style looks a little bit akin to mine, I found that this is just a much faster way to make a mask without having to worry about going in here and getting all this detail. So we're going to go in there, we're just making sure we're getting some of these lines. You don't want to spend too much time, because if you do, you can end up noodling, and then it feels like you're not really saving much time anyway. You're just going in there and doing all the work you normally would have done. So I'm just filling all the lines here that would have been open. And like I say, once we get this part done, it's like lightning fast. And then what it saves you time is, now that everything's flatted, you can just go in there, you can start putting the colors that need to be where they need to be, the shadows where they need to be, all that cool stuff. Alright, so her body's done. I'm just going to go outside the rock here. The rock, I would be hard pressed to find any, what is this here? Let's erase that. Is that on the line right here? Interesting. Okay, I'll watch out for that. I'm not sure why that's there. Might have been brought in from the Manga Studio file. And the inside selection here, so make sure there's a line open there. Let's go down her back here. Her butt touches there, that's fine. And there's no other, right here we have an opening, but that's fine. So I'm just going to zoom back out now. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab our magic wand tool. You can press W for that instead of having to click there. Make sure, if you need to, just click and hold on here. Make sure it's magic wand tool, not quick selection tool that's on. You can copy my settings up here. Sample all layers is mandatory. Whatever that is for, and you can copy those settings if you need to. And again, make sure you're on the layer that you're going to need. So we're just going to select, and as you can see now, when I zoom in, it's everything outside of her. Okay, but there's a gap in here, so if you hold shift, you can add to the selection, which we're going to do. We're going to add in there. Also in here, remember, just add that selection there. And from here, all I do is I go select, modify, expand. I'm going to expand the selection we just made. Usually I go 1 or 2, depends on how thin or thick your line art is. You'll have to play around this on your own. Okay, and what this does is, you can see it just brought it in a little bit to make it a little bit more tight. And now we just go select, modify, or sorry, select, inverse, and that's just inverting the selection we just made. And now you just Alt backspace to fill, and Control D is what I press to deselect, and there you go. Okay, so in a case like this, I guess I did miss one, but that took no time, really. How my old way of doing this is I would have to go in there and manually select all this stuff. But now, like you can see, this character got done too, or was finished as well. He's got some opening areas. I guess a lot of his line art was actually closed. That's actually pretty cool. Saves me a bunch of time. And that's about it. So the next stage you would take this, again, this isn't a coloring tutorial. I just want to show you this is a starting point, right? So now that I have this layer, I'm going to make a new layer, and again, hold Alt to merge down, or sorry, everything that's in this layer is masked to the layer below it. So let's just say I want, she's got blue skin or something, right? So let's go in here, and what's the blue I want to use? Maybe we're going to start with like a bluish purple, and we're going to highlight to a greenish blue. And I don't know how much tone I want to go in there. It's probably not overly saturated. We can go there. You can just hit Alt backspace to fill, and it's going to fill everything in there. And if you look at this layer, let me just unmask this. Let me just break it out so you can see it. That's what I did. It's a total fill, but because it's in there and it's masked, see how it's right now it's just a fill. But if I hold Alt again and go in here, it masks it to that selection. It makes it so much easier to do selections, anything. The next layer, I can make a new one. Click New Layer, Alt, bring it back in. Maybe she's got, I don't know, orange seashells on her head. Just bring it back to our brush tool. And see, look how far out. I'm actually pressing right here, and nothing's showing up, but it's all in here, right? So you could even go all crazy in here in her hair. And let's just say we want a new layer above it, and she's got, I don't know, red kind of crown, and because this layer is over top of it, just like in Photoshop would work, anything on the above layer will show up underneath. So that's the extent of the video. I won't go to the whole thing again. I just wanted to show you guys this. I found it to be a gigantic time saver whenever I'm doing a pinup like this, like a character pinup. It can be a little bit more difficult when there's things around the character, but I think this solution here helps big time in the forward thought of your next project. Okay, so again, let's just say this character is with this one. When I would have constructed my line art, I draw in Manga Studio to do this stuff. So she would be on her own layer, like I normally would work in digital. The next guy would be in his own layer, as opposed to just drawing everything like it's a piece of paper and you're just drawing on that paper. If you're using digital, there might be a way to work in your workflow to keep making new layers for specific characters. And what that lets you do is once you get to the masking stage like this, you can just turn off all the layers of the other characters, so it just singles out this character. And do what I just showed you there, and it's just a very quick way to get that mask in there. A lot of people find this is what you would call the flatting stage. After the mask is done, we're going to go in there, we're going to add color to everything. That's the most boring stage to a lot of people. A lot of people outsource it. People do that as a job. I just flat comics. And, you know, most of us just want to do the artwork. And when we color, we're thinking of probably color harmonies, shadows, and highlights, rendering and stuff. Not the, let's get the colors in place so that we can start coloring. Okay, so hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Try it out in your next pinup, especially if it's just like a character shot. See what happens. Leave a comment below. Let me know if this sort of thing is interesting to you. And if you have used it, let me know how that worked out for you. And if you had any trouble, put that down there as well. I'll do my best to help you out. And I'm sure there'll be other people that'll see the comment and they'll try to help out as well. And I want to say thank you guys once again for watching. If you wanted to head on over to my website, jonathanrector.com, you can find out more tutorials, all sorts of links to places I am online. And if you wanted to check my live streams, you can also go to my site, and at the top you can click picarto.tv, and that'll take you to the place where we do our streams every Wednesday from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, plus miscellaneous streams throughout the week. And if you also wanted to head on over to patreon.com/JonathanRector, there's a bunch of goodies you can download, and any kind of support there would be fantastic. Got some big plans coming probably within the next month or so for content for that. And if you didn't want to do any of those things, I just want to say thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate it. Feel free to share, click like, click dislike if you didn't like the video, if it didn't help you out at all. And if it did help you out, share it with your friends. Maybe they could get a kick out of it too. So again, thank you guys so much. Until the next video, you guys, keep reading comics, keep making comics, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.